Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another podcast. And as always, I have a very interesting guest. Today is definitely no exception, and I have a father from the Greater Essex County District School Board, also with the Windsor Essex Catholic District School Board. His name is Elton Robson, and he's been taking the lead and very vocal. And I've seen a lot of the things that he's been posting and doing, and I'm very excited to have a conversation with him. And he's going to let us know a little bit more about the actions that he's taken. Elton, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Father Todd. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing super good. It's a beautiful day. No complaints.
Amen to that, brother.
So, man, I've seen you've been incredibly busy. You've been writing for Woke Watch Canada, the Substack, and I've been reading a lot. And yeah, I'm very happy to see the things that you're doing.
Yeah, Twitter's an amazing thing. I was never a Twitter fan. When Elon Musk bought it, I was intrigued. And I cannot believe the amount of people. It gave me hope across Ontario and Canada by meeting people like you, meeting James Pugh from Woke Watch Canada, meeting Catherine Coronis, from the Lighthouse founder, which is a great tool for parents to that are like-minded to the cause of putting the school back in the hands of the parents. So just a great thing. And Chanel Paul too. Can you speak up more than that? What an amazing person.
Absolutely. Well, I had James Pugh and Chanel both on the podcast. And for
Oh,
anybody listening, yeah, I encourage you to go watch. Their stories are very interesting. But I
100%.
actually wanted to hear your story because you've gotten into this pretty recently as well. So how did you come across the school board, and what kind of triggered you into all of this?
So I'm an organization that part of a charity organization that focuses on children. I do a lot of stuff locally for marginalized kids and the community in general, focusing around children. So I attend our parent councils. I've always been involved with parent council. Um, I was going to watch a Bills game, but our parent council fell on that day. So I went to the school board meeting in hopes that usually they're not that long, but unfortunately, but in the long term, fortunately, there was two parents speaking. One parent spoke about books. What are your words and how mamas love their babies? I was like, okay, books. I didn't really think anything of it at the time. The next person talked about where my oldest daughter, she's graduated since, but where she was at, saying there's a student there that identifies as a cat and meows during class. Well, that school is a school that specializes in IEP program, which is individual educational program for people that don't know. So they're children that are behind in subjects. I just couldn't believe that was going on in a class like that because those kids are already far behind. I couldn't even imagine trying to focus in that class, especially when you already have learning disabilities that are documented. As that person went on too, she mentioned the other school where my daughter was at, but just recently transferred to the Catholic ward. That's why I'm a little bit involved with the Catholic ward too. I'm on the parent council of her school there. But at the school, in the public school system she was at, the lady was saying that they have litter boxes and furries. So I was like, okay,
Wow.
this lady's a kook. So I'm like, okay, but they seem both very intelligent. So, but I don't like talking about stuff until I know the facts are facts. So I called that school the next day. They answered the phone. I asked about litter boxes because I got the secretary. She said absolutely not. I said, okay, thank you. You confirmed that those ladies were kooks that were talking at my parent council last night. Thank you for your time. But then she sounded like urgent. She's like, sir, can you talk to the principal? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to waste principal's time. You already confirmed what I thought. They're kooks. And she was like, no, sir. So I could tell she wanted to say something, but she couldn't say it. It was what it seemed like to me. So she passed me over to the principal. So I'm talking to the principal. The litter boxes, she said no. But then I went into the furry part, which I didn't talk to the secretary about. And she said, absolutely not. We haven't had furries here in our school. And that's when I knew she was lying, because my kid told me, because I went home after the parent council and asked my daughter who was previous at school. She goes, there's still furries there. And there was furries when she went there as well.
Wow.
So pardon?
I said, wow. So if they're lying about one thing, makes you wonder.
Oh yeah, 100% it did. Well, then funny enough, I started talking about it to other people, and somebody sent me this policy that we're going to talk about a little bit later on, of gender identity and accommodation policy. Ours is 2 pages. Your Waterloo one, because I did a podcast with Christina Barrios Fernandez there, and your guys is 21 pages, which we're going to do a podcast and dig into that one. But ours is 2 pages, and it states, regardless of a child's age, they don't have to notify the parents if they want to make a gender change at school or an accommodation, which just jumped off the page to me. Is like, number one, why didn't I know about this? Number two, like, seriously? You're teaching kids to keep secrets. I've always taught my kids, you never keep secrets, because there's predators out there. And keeping secrets isn't a good thing, especially when you're teaching kids to keep secrets from parents.
Absolutely. I've always viewed this as, the first step in child abuse is keeping the secret away from the parent. And any person that abuses children or grooms children, the first thing they say is, this is our secret. You don't have to tell mom and dad. It's okay. You can trust me. And that's the kind of language and attitude that surrounds this.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely scary. So I wanted to find those 2 people that were in the parent council. So we had a meet the teacher at our school. So I hunted them down and apologized to them, said that they aren't kooks, and what more information do you have? And we talked, and then we had a meeting probably 3 days later with probably about 10 parents, and we started Parents for Parents' Rights, which we have a website. It's www.parentsrights.ca. And we've been putting the push on, and that's how I've come across people like you, people like Chanel, people like James, Catherine, Christina, Julia Malott. There's just a bunch of great people. Unfortunately, we're spread all over Ontario. Shannon in Ottawa, and Nick in Ottawa. Unfortunately, we're a minority as far as people that are active. I'm really hoping over this summer, and going back with this petition, that it opens up doorways for us to have talks with people, because I was asleep. I trusted that I'd do my voting and the people we elect do their job. And holy wow, that's not the case.
Yeah, that's not the case at all. And what a huge disappointment. And ever since I've been following the school boards closely, I couldn't believe these people, the kind of policies that they uphold and the kind of attitudes that they have, and especially towards parents, the disrespect. And they think they can just swoop in and just take over the parental role. They're transitioning kids at school without parental knowledge. They're bringing in organizations to sell gear to kids, like binders and packers and funnels, so the girls can pee standing up, and anything from that to therapies and affirmation, and pointing them towards medical intervention. I mean, it's just crazy where we've gotten, and I did not know any of this stuff either.
Yeah, well, I met Julia Malott, and we actually asked her to come down to speak at our school board meeting. For those that you don't know, Julia is a transgender. But I call her because she's unbelievable. She's just, she's the perfect spokesperson, because she's lived it. She's dealt with that stuff her whole life, and she actually transitioned to a woman when she was 28. She got involved because her child goes to your school board, Waterloo Region, and had a boy go in the bathroom, in the girls' bathroom. And that brought her to become a spokesperson for going, hey guys, what's going on here in these school boards?
Yeah, it's crazy. I have Julia's delegations as well on my YouTube channel for anybody that wants to watch. And all these parents from all these different walks of life, when you talk about diversity, this is what it's about. You have a bunch of people, but they're all united over one thing, and that is for doing what's best for the children, and not getting stuck in this ideology that the school is pushing onto everybody, and anybody that doesn't want to partake in this ideology is basically called bigoted and hateful and all that stuff. Have you had any pushback from the school board for
Oh,
the things that you've been doing?
yeah. We've had lots of fun interactions with our school board. I have them on our YouTube channel, Parents' Rights. And we had it just last night. We had a motion on the table for making an ad hoc committee to review the books with parents, trustees, and staff. They ruled it out of order in a private session. We had three people that spent a lot of time to do speeches in favor of this ad hoc committee. We had a previous one back in December asking them to mark new books, kind of like they do on Netflix with new movies. So when a new book came into publication anywhere in the school, parents were notified that it was there and they could take a look, just to help them streamline, because they're busy at the school board too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, yeah, they talked about us wanting to ban books in December, which wasn't. It was not about banning books. It's about having curriculum related books and age appropriate books. Unfortunately, those people that spent time in their speeches for last night were shut out because they ruled it out of order, the motion that was put forward that was on the agenda, and it came off. And some of the parents, rightfully so, have hours and hours in research because they wanted to make sure that the trustees knew it wasn't about banning books. And unfortunately, they had a bit of a verbal baggage back and forth, and they asked the parents actually to leave the boardroom, and the trustees actually got up and walked into their safe zone, because I guess even speaking is threatening. They said they didn't feel safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, this phenomenon is not something that's uh, much different than what happens in totalitarian countries either. I come from Romania, which is a communist country, was a communist country until 1989. And a lot of these things happened before as well. I just finished reading George Orwell's Animal Farm, and currently going through George Orwell's 1984. And all of these things as well. Everything that's happening is very, I mean, the term is there Orwellian, the way that they try to dismiss things and try to paint things in a positive light. We know what's best for you kind of mentality. I mean, this stuff is very predictable once you get into it. And these countries, they all have kind of the same thing in common as well. And one of the things that's very disappointing to see is that Canada has fallen so much in this regard, where even thoughts and speech is viewed as harmful, right? Just having a different opinion, saying, hey, you know what, like, I'm not okay with my children being exposed to certain material, right? And when it comes to banning books, I mean, the hypocrisy, these guys take out the classic children's books, they ban Dr. Seuss and all of this stuff, and then they have the audacity to say, you're the one banning books. I mean, it's just so crazy to me. The irony and the hypocrisy is on full display. Honestly, I'm having none of it. They can say whatever they want. At the end of the day, I think they're just projecting everything that they're doing. They're just saying, no, you're doing it. And it's very telling to me when I hear them speak.
Well, they like to hide a lot of stuff. And we had spoken about books in December, And out of the 5 books we talked to, they've either brought the books down in the amount of books they had, or they've banned books. They've taken the books off the shelf. They had Fun Home was one that they got rid of. It's Perfectly Normal was the other one. They took that off the shelf. It's just like you're saying. It's just they say what they want to say and do what they want to do, and they're not going to be held accountable to anybody. Now, you were saying earlier about how they want to teach and say just leave it to us. Well, I was actually at a board meeting recently. Forgive me, I can't remember the date, but they were talking about getting rid of police out of schools. So they had the Windsor Essex black community there. They have like a group of Windsor Essex blacks. So I was outside, and one of them is a university professor. I just went over there to say, hey, nice to meet you, tell them about who we are. And then they said, well, what are you about? And I said, well, we're about parents' rights. And she goes, if you're not university educated, you should leave it to us. She said, I can tell you've been raised in colonialism, and us and the indigenous have been walking around North America long before you Europeans got here. And I was just like, okay. I didn't push it any further, and I was like, holy wow. So then when we got up to the meeting, they were doing their speeches, which you can find on our YouTube. We were respectful and we sat and listened. Then I got up and talked about not getting rid of police, and about they wanted to rename our schools too, right? And I basically said, I forget whose quote it was, but I said, those that view history through the lens of today is a silly thing to do, right? And when I said that, the one person got up and called me a white supremacist. The best part about it, though, was the next day, this lady that said it was downtown Toronto. I don't know if you remember, they were down there fighting about abolishing the police, and she was holding the big banner that said abolish the police. And I'm just like, going back to what you said, as far as them not wanting to hear different opinions, right? Can you imagine if I had said a derogatory word? They would have ushered me out, but they said white supremacist, and it just went along. It's trustees and nothing. If I guarantee if I had said something else, they would have yanked us out right away.
Absolutely. You know, it's so crazy. I mean, I laugh because all of this is so absurd. And one of the things is I see this stuff on the internet, right? And I'm like, who has these views in real life? But I see these people, they're at the school board because they have these safe spaces, right? And safe spaces for this unacceptable ideology, right? Like anybody that's not with them is a white supremacist. We have a trustee, a black trustee, Mike Ramsey, on our board. He was called a white supremacist too. You know, I mean, basically, if you don't like somebody, or if somebody doesn't agree with you, you label them, right? Supremacist, bigot, phobic of some sort. And it's crazy. At the end of the day, you know, they called me that too. I'm not sure how you handle it, but I honestly could care less about what they say. Oh,
I'm the same way.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But tell me a little bit about this petition that you have going on.
Here, I'm going to grab it so I can read it to you. So this petition, we're hoping to get it all across Ontario with our group. We released the story today on Woke Watch Canada. I'll be pushing it through this long weekend. But the petition reads like this. Forgive me, I got to take my glasses off. To the Legislative Assembly of Ontario, whereas the education system in Ontario is an important coalition between parents, students, and educators, and whereas keeping parents informed of important developments in the lives of their children is essential to good cooperation between parents, students, and educators. Therefore, we, the undersigned, petition the Legislative Assembly of Ontario as follows: that the Legislative Assembly of Ontario pass a law directing the Minister of Education to order all school boards in Ontario to amend all school board policies related to name changes and gender transition at school to ensure that parents and caregivers of children under the age of 18 will be informed prior to name or pronoun changes, social transitioning at school, or the offering of counseling regarding medical transition. And I can't even believe we have to have a petition like that, that they have to exclude parents again. It blows my mind that we have to get a permission slip to go on a field trip. But if our children want to live a double life, which Julia regrets having to live a double life, like she said, she hid it from her parents, but when she told her parents, they didn't agree with it, but they still loved her. And what a bag just to throw on top of kids. We did a budget survey as we did our school census, but we haven't got the answers back on that yet. But on our budget survey, the top two items were mental health for students and mental health for teachers, which they like to say that they need more diversity, inclusion, and equity. But I think if they peel back the onion, I think a lot of it has to do with teachers don't want to keep secrets. They want to teach, right? And children, I've had lots of parents and even kids of my children's friends say they don't see themselves in the schools, right? Nothing against the 2S LGBTQIA+, very marginalized. I understand 100%. But if you're going to throw a rainbow up, like we try to get a Christian flag up, right? You can't have that, right? So what does that message send to a kid? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really struggling. This LGBTQ thing isn't what it used to be. I think right now what it is more of a identity politics, propaganda kind of, this is how we're going to be moving forward. I mean, the government of Canada announced, I think between May, June, July, August, and September, it's all LGBTQ season, right? And then November is LGBTQ month, history month, right? So now you're having 6 months out of the year dedicated to this. And I've recently seen a thing, they're making, I believe it was yesterday or today, you have the Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and all of this.
That's
and they
funny.
have the Family Day and all of this stuff, and they're changing everything. And my family, with my girls, like, we don't identify sexually. That's not what our family is about.
I hope
our
not.
family is about, spending time together, right? It's not about falling into a certain sexuality identity. And I completely reject anything that's been happening with this LGBTQ. And I'm not the only person. As a matter of fact, I've had a Sue Ann, who's a lesbian journalist, and she doesn't agree. I mean, a lot of people, even if they are gay or lesbian or whatever, trans, like Julia, they don't agree with what's happening and these things being pushed, this ideology. And it just goes to show, I think more people are waking up. And I really like your petition. Your petition is very straightforward. I mean, it's more than reasonable to put in a process that doesn't keep secrets away from parents and that protects children from being pushed towards transitioning at school. And I've had a parent on the last podcast, episode 13 from Our Duty Canada, a mom and her child started transitioning at school. And they make it sound like it's empowering, but as a parent, when that child turns around and says, I hate you, you don't understand me, you don't love me, and all of this stuff, and I want to transition, and you go on like medication and stuff, it's heartbreaking. I can't imagine being put into a scenario like that.
No, 100%, especially when all you want to do is support your child, and then you got everybody else in the school system, because kids do look up to their teachers. They're with them for 8 hours a day, right? And if you get a really progressive teacher, they're going to be sending mixed signals and trying to push a child into life-altering changes. But to bring up 3 points of what you were just talking about, on May 17th, we have at 9 a.m. an Awareness Days, International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. Like, I get it's a marginalized community, but they're supposed to have a week in June that's now turned into like half the school year and the full summer, right? And again, I'm going to say it. You can edit this out. But what about Heterosexual Day? Can you imagine having a parade of heterosexual? Or it's just enough. Like Gays Against Groomers is a perfect example, right? Of like you were saying. And then Mike Ramsey, you're saying about being called a white supremacist. Well, look what happened to Julia at one of your guys' meetings at Waterloo Region. When I couldn't believe, I was so appalled. He goes, I have a lot of trans friends. Julia, wouldn't you say you're a minority in your group? But that's what the schools are supposed to be, is for minorities. So he just double talked himself, because I thought they were there for the marginalized. Well, she's already marginalized. So if she's a minority of a marginalized, she's got to be super marginalized. Why are you calling her out like that? It's just...
Exactly.
It's these people are so... these people, I should stop saying that, same people. These trustees that are elected, I would not say that even half of their constituents that voted for them know what they actually stand for. And I think that's our job, Lighthouse's job, your job, my job. Everybody that's putting the pushback right now is, for the next election, we got to let the public know what these current trustees have done for their 4 years and what their virtues are. Because a lot of these people go to churches, and when I'm talking to the local people in my community, because I'm a Christian, they cannot believe that the people that they have up there as a trustee that they voted for pushing these agendas. They would never, ever think. So we need to have a debate, I believe, for trustees, and we need to educate the public about trustees.
Absolutely. And that's the stance that I've taken, making these videos, having conversations with people, with parents like yourself, shining the light on these meetings as well. And you have that YouTube channel too. By the way, I did not know that you were the owner of that channel. I did have it pop up before, just super randomly. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. And anyways, I really like what you're doing, right? Just putting it out there, letting people see it. And until the next election, we have another 3.5 years until the next one, right? That's a lot of time to raise awareness and turn this ship around. As a matter of fact, I'm very encouraged by the fact that because parents are speaking out, they're starting to take notice. I mean, with Bill C-98 as well, by the Ministry of Education, Stephen Leachy, that's coming around to focus more on academics. The Waterloo Catholic District School Board's trustee, who made comments about the white Christian males being harmful to everybody else, she resigned as well. And I think, and the books that we're taking out of your school as well, these things it's slowly starting to make an impact, and I'm hoping that it continues to snowball from here.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope in September we have a lot more parents out. I know the parents that were there last night at our school board meeting were kind of disenfranchised with what's going on, because it's hard when you see it firsthand at the corruption that's there, and just the blatant, this is what we're doing, and you guys, we don't care. But it's our tax dollars that's funding their show. So I'm hoping more parents show up, because for the next 3.5 years, like I've been trying to tell our people, we're going to lick our wounds over the long weekend. I told everybody just take a break and we'll refocus on Tuesday. But we need to keep going to these school board meetings because there are people starting to resign that are the super woke, right? And I really believe, I know in business, the more pressure you put on your competition, the more apt they are to falter, right? And I think we really have to focus on that across Ontario. So I'm hoping over this summer that we can get together in certain areas and have parent info sessions to let them know, right? It's just we need to have more parents coming out because I 100% believe there's more people that think like us than there are the other side. The only difference is the minority has done the work, and you got to give them credit. They've got off their ass and they've done the work. Well, now it's time for us to stop complaining. It's time for us to get off our ass and push forward. Sorry for the language, but it's the best word for it, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, if this stuff isn't going to wake people up and motivate them, I don't know what will, especially like transitioning kids at school without parental knowledge and consent. I mean, this stuff is crazy, and I really encourage people to do something about it because it's working. I mean, you've seen it firsthand, right? And then I've seen it firsthand. I've had the first experience was with a teacher, Carolyn Berjowski, in our school who talked about library. Yeah, talked about library books. And then from then on, I was like, wait a minute, this stuff is in our schools. Put me down this rabbit hole. And now I'm, shining a light on all of these things just to make people more aware.
Amen, brother.
So what do you, with this petition, what are you hoping to accomplish? I mean, obviously, it's what you said in the petition, but how can people get involved? How can they access it? Can I put a link in the description as well? And who are you sending this to? And tell me a little bit more about it.
Okay, first I want to touch base on a point that I was trying to make earlier about parents getting involved. These activists have been pushing their activities since about 2004, 2007. So it's not like we're going to go to a board meeting like I thought when I first got in this rabbit hole. I'm in business. You just deal with something, fix it, and move on. Unfortunately, they've done the work since 2004. We have to start the work. A lot of you guys started 2 years ago. We have a good 10 years to push it back to somewhat normal. So don't think you're going to jump in and it's going to change overnight because you're just going to burn yourself out. This is a marathon, not a sprint. To go to the petition, what I'm hoping to do is get people out. Everybody knows 5 people that would sign to start 5 conversations. So if you have 5 people do it, then you have those 5 people do it. You got 25 signatures right there, right? And it just keeps multiplying. The more signatures we get, obviously the better for the message to send out to the Minister of Education. I'm a PC EDA for Windsor West, and I'm pushing around. Unfortunately, we don't have a sitting MPP in my riding, but we do have in the other 2 ridings in Windsor Essex County our PC. So I've been talking with them to hopefully one of these people sponsor this. I believe once we get past 2,000 signatures, I believe it'll be a way more of a message that somebody's going to want. It's politics. Somebody's going to want to take it if they're seeing there's that many people signing this. Somebody's going to sponsor it. So, and it opens up the conversation to have about the school board, right? Because if you ask people about it and just say, hey, just read this, right? You don't have to sign it. Just read this. As soon as they read it, they're going to start asking questions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great conversation starter and hopefully maybe a little bit of a wake up for people as well.
And then we'll see him in the rabbit hole with Alice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Man, yeah, like I said, I really appreciate all the work that you've done with all of this. Um, what do you think would be an action other than the petition that parents can do right now to contribute to the change?
What they can do is show up at board meetings. If they can't show up at board meetings, they're all YouTube live streamed that you can go back and review later. Uh, get in touch with people in your area in Ontario. If not, reach out to me or reach out to Father Todd here, and we'll put you in touch with somebody in your area and start emailing your trustees. I was actually told it's better to call the trustees because it's easy to avoid emails. So if we just start doing that and pushing back and letting trustees know the actual pulse of our areas, hopefully it might make them reflect a little bit and change their focus on the well-being. So did you see the TVO with Mike Ramsey and the president of OPSPA?
I saw a brief thing on Twitter, but I did not have a chance to watch the whole thing. I saw a clip with Mike Ramsey speaking, and I'm actually looking to clip that video and put some more stuff out.
Yeah.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing and I want to clip it. I just haven't had time to do it because if you look at the president of OPSPA, I'm sure great person, but totally woke. Mike Ramsey had such brilliant items and she just pushed them off. She wanted to focus on well-being. You don't need to focus on well-being. You need to focus on student academic achievement. That's why we bring kids to school. Student academic achievement. And anything goes sideways with the well-being of the child, schools aren't equipped for that. They have a mechanism already in place. Third-party educator. Get that person involved. There's still, in a classroom size of 20, let's say, if you have one marginalized child, take care of them with the third-party mechanism. You still have 19 children there that want to have student academic achievement. You want to fix all these well-being problems, educators? Focus on student academic achievement. Students that are well-read, well-educated are going to fix all of the issues we have in society today. They have to have the background of reading, writing, and math. If you do not have those three things, you're going to turn to crime. You're going to turn to alternate stuff to make your reality livable.
You know, sometimes I think that they purposely don't want to focus on this because somebody that doesn't know they have options is somebody that's going to be causing chaos as well, you know, bad behavior. And you're just like these kids who are acting out in class, you know, it's distracting everybody else. But I think that they always use the chaos to gain more control, right? And we've seen it too, like with this vaccination thing, right? They create a problem, they allow a problem, and then they say, well, look, we've got the solution. We're just going to force everybody into it. And anybody that has anything to say, well, we're going to shut down the bank accounts. That's pretty crazy. That's a crazy thing to do to your own citizens. So sometimes I wonder if these people have any common sense, because whatever I see, you know, they're taking that shift off of academics on purpose, and schools are getting more chaotic. Indeed they are, but they're creating this chaos as well. And their solution to solving this chaos begins with, you know, taking parents out of the equation, driving a wedge in the family, bringing in third-party counselors who's going to look after the children. And really what they're doing is just more indoctrination and saying, no, this is the solution. You know, maybe you were trans all along, all of this stuff, right? Getting people to go on a lifelong medical intervention cycle as well, with psychological and physical ramifications. You know, I really wonder if they have the well-being of students in mind, because I stopped listening to their words a long time ago and I just look at their actions.
Actions speak louder than words, brother. That's 100%. Look for the fruit. If there's no fruit, you know it's not right. Anybody can say anything out of their mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So, Elton, before we wrap this up, I just wanted to know, is there anything that you wanted to say that we feel we haven't touched upon?
No, I think we've covered it all. Again, we just need parents to get involved. It's if we have more people, a lot more hands create a lot less work, right? So everybody has a talent. Let's use the talent to save the children, to save our future, because I'm telling my kids if they want to get into a career, get into a psychologist or psychiatric, because that's where the money's going to be. If the school system stays the way it is, these kids are not prepared to work outside of the school system in the world. And again, I don't think the school boards are doing it on purpose. I just think that they're so focused on the wrong thing. I think if they really just focus back on student academic achievement, not just keep saying that word, that everything else will sort itself out, and use the third-party mechanisms. We don't need to add that into the school system. The school system is not the place for that.
Well said. Yeah, really good perspective as well on that. And I just want to say, even in the past couple of years, just looking back as an encouragement to parents, we've come such a long way in changing things around. And now it's more acceptable. You hear these different views. People are beginning to realize what's happening more and more. And I don't think there's going to be any stopping this. I mean, they're going to try to stop it with censorship and all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, we're going to still find each other. I still found you randomly, your channel.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was your channel on YouTube. And you found me and the other people. And just like with the petition, you get 5 people and then those 5 people find another 5 people. I think it just grows exponentially.
Oh, 100%.
Well, Elton, I just wanted to thank you once again for joining me. I'm going to put links in the description to the petition and how it could be accessed. Also to Woke Watch Canada. And where can people find you if they want more information?
They can just email me directly, elton.robinson1984@gmail.com.
Sounds good. I'm also going to post that information below just for people to reach out to you. For anybody that made it this far into the video, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to listen. Please share this video with other parents. As you know, there's a lot of things going into the school board, and it's making a difference. The more people that know, the more pressure we're going to add. And I've seen this firsthand. And Elton, once again, I just want to thank you for your time, for coming to chat and sharing your experiences with everybody.
Thank you for the avenue to get my voice out there some more.
Awesome. Well, everybody, check out the other podcast episodes. I've got very interesting ones as well, such as exploring the deviant mind of a predator with John Uhler that I think you're gonna find very interesting. And until next time, take care.